following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Biggs on. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby!
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman. Welcome to the Sunday edition of The Advantage. By the end of the day, we'll know the entire Sweet 16 field in the NCAA tournament, and we'll see if Mike has a good feel for who survives today's action. And of course, Mike remains red hot with his picks, so we'll see if we can make some more money today. And this week is the starting of the 2019 Major League Baseball season. We'll see if we can pry a prediction from Mike on how those Cubbies and Palehose will do this year. And we'll talk about numbers, those that have been retired by the Chicago sports teams and those that should be. We'll do all that and more with my buddy, Mike North. How are you, my friend?
I'll tell you what, I can't be any happier, Aldo. It's a fantastic thing. We're going crazy. I mean, I'm 6-1 when it comes to getting the picks on the odds couple on ESPN. I'm 180 games over 500 in Vegas scores and odds, and more importantly, in football this year, where this all started, folks, the first handicap show of the new era started on Bears Barroom with Aldo Gandia and Mike North on this wonderful podcast, the Mike North Advantage. It was an idea I had. I told Aldo I could, pick. He looked cross-eyed at me, looked to smoke a cigarette, and he doesn't even smoke. And quite frankly, I got to tell you, it's turned out better than I ever thought. Now people are calling me. We need more picks for this thing. We need more picks for that thing. Are we going to have that pick up? Are we going to do this pick? I retired about 19 months ago, and now I've never been busier, and I couldn't be happier, my friend.
It is an amazing story. I mean, you sat down in retirement and said, you know what, I'm going to do a little handicapping. And then all of a sudden, you're the hottest handicapper in the nation. Mike North will not be stopped. It's an incredible story, Mike. Congratulations.
You think I'm too cocky? I said the other day I'm the hottest in the Western Hemisphere. Of course, I did check the Eastern Hemisphere. I don't even know if there is an Eastern Hemisphere, but I can't believe there's a handicapper, if there is an Eastern Hemisphere, hotter than me in the Eastern Hemisphere. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Let's just go whole universe. Hottest handicapper in the universe.
Well, I mean, really, I mean, in honor of one of my favorite villains of all time, I hear the King James. There was only one king. His name was Elvis. Okay, other people borrow it. King this, King that. There was a wizard, the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Odds, ODDS, was Mr. Donald Angelini right here in Chicago. Helped to put out the lines that went national back in the day, a man I have huge respect for. And then, of course, there's the Emperor Ming. So I figured, you know what? Does an emperor trump a king? I didn't mean to put that middle word in. Does an emperor trump a king? That's all I'm going to ask you. I mean, because I think it does. What do you think? I think emperor sounds more like a dictator, though.
Yeah, it has those connotations, but I agree with you. Emperor is the ultimate ruler. I can't think of a... All
right.
Yeah,
in honor of us, in honor of my great picks, I'm giving myself a nickname like LeBron James, the Emperor of Odds.
I love it. The Emperor of Odds.
I'm going to get a cape like Ming. I'm going to paint my face up and walk around and chase Dale Arden.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Got to do that.
I mean, the bookie priest is pissed. He hasn't made an appearance on the show yet. I've stolen his thunder. He just got sent to a parish out west, Our Lady of the Addiction. I mean, it's crazy.
Let's hope that's the only thing he's done wrong.
He went the other day to do last rites. The guy was alive. He says, I just want to call ahead.
Oh, fabulous stuff. And how about this tournament, Mike? We're seeing some action
Well,
here.
when you're like 11-2, picking games all over, and you're winning money, it's a fantastic tournament. If you're 2-11, you really are looking to take an elevator somewhere and hope there's an open window somewhere. So I've only lost 2 games as far as putting down money and giving them out.
Right.
These are games. Listen, folks, I take these games. I bet them myself. It's a dream come true. I'm getting back at the man after 35 years of abuse, 35 years of paying more than receiving. And now in the last 5 years, and you know what's crazy is I tried to tell my buddies who had known me forever. They weren't buying it. I tried to tell this person that I can do this. Give me a chance. And finally it happened. But the only 2 games I've lost was yesterday, Wilford, where Kentucky had a lead of 4. A foul, and basically Tuck and Wilford fouled and tried with about, 20 seconds left. But they're only down 4, so I understood it. As a gambler, you win games by 1, you lose games. For instance, I had Maryland yesterday, +3. They lost by 2.
Yeah.
So I don't jump around, yippee. I just take it as a win. You don't take a loss like we had yesterday, and it was a bad beat, sort of. He made both free throws. We lost by 6. We were getting 5. And then the other game I've lost is Montana versus Michigan. They were getting 15. They lost by 19. So here's what I'm telling everybody in America. If you beat me, it's a pain in the ass to beat me. I'm in every game. Every single game. And there's one game, just because you pick a team in a bracket. By the way, my bracket's destroyed. I had Iowa State winning it all. You know me, I just like to go outlandish. But I got a lot of other good picks in there. But at the end, Iowa State, I had winning all. They lost to Ohio State. I took Iowa State on my brackets, Aldo. But I took Ohio State once I started investigating the game 3 days later. So that was one of my wins, too.
You know, Mike, you're obviously a very wealthy man, but when you say you put money on this, you still are chewing your fingernails and on the edge of your seats with some of these games. I mean, that LSU game, it went down to the final second with that layup from that kid over Maryland. So your blood pressure must be, doing all sorts of ups and downs while you watch these games, right?
Yeah, you know what, Aldo? I got to be honest with you. It's about the win.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. I got money. I make money. I don't have to work. I'm very blessed. And I have work. To me, this ain't work. I worked 16 hours a day. I hauled garbage. I worked construction. I worked 3 hot dog stands. I busted my tail my whole life. So this is not work to talk to you on the air.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an entertainment thing.
Right.
And I love to entertain. But it's even better when you win, and that's why I'm happy all the vehicles are winning. I'd hate for one of my vehicles or platforms to be losing, while the other one's winning. So all my platforms are winning. I love handicapping. My passion is in handicapping. And you know what? That's where we're going forward, even with the Mike North Advantage. We were the first one, folks. I told Aldo before the show, I never want him to forget this. We were the first ones to do a handicap show in this market, big time. And that's transferred on to a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yep.
And this whole handicapping business is just going to explode. And so I'm just...
We're going to write another book about handicapping, you and I, about the do's and don'ts.
Oh, I love
After we're
it.
done with the autobiography, which we're halfway through with.
That's
we're
right.
doing a lot.
We are doing a lot. We've been very busy. Now, let's talk a little March Madness. Lots of great games on the slate today. The number one game that I'm interested in watching as from a fan perspective is this Duke-UCF game. Duke ranked number 1 in their conference, and UCF number 9. This is Coach Krzyzewski coaching against one of his star players from I think it was the 80s, Johnny Dawkins, who was a kid. I was always praying that the Bulls would draft him or get him somehow. He never ended up playing for Chicago, but nonetheless, he had a solid NBA career and is now doing a great job coaching that basketball team. And the major storyline is Duke's Zion Williamson, the 6'7", 285 power forward, going up against UCF's Taco Fall, who is 7'6", 310 pounds. He has a size 22 shoe and in wingspan of 8 feet 4 inches. It's amazing. And so they asked Taco about this was Andy Katz asking Taco about potentially trying to block Williamson's dunk, who he's famous for.
I mean, Zion is a great talent. I mean, this is someone pretty much we've never seen with his size, his athleticism. He's so quick. But like you say, the coach is going to have a great game plan for them, especially Coach Dawkins. I feel like because he played for Duke, so he's going to have to help us out a lot.
All right, so how hard is it, though, to dunk on you?
It's very hard. I won't allow him putting me on one of his highlight tapes.
I mean, if you were going to do an over/under on Williamson dunking on this 7'6" tall player, what would be the over/under on that, Mike?
I don't think. Look, it's like Manute Bol. Manute Bol was 7'6" or 7 foot something.
7, yeah.
He was a monster.
Right.
The difference between him and this guy is this guy's got bulk.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy seems to have a more polished game for that tall. It's not easy to run up and down the court at 7'6", folks. Believe me. I mean, it just got to be very difficult. Here's why I think he's going to get killed. I think it's like Barkley against Manute Bol. Only, like I said, this guy's got more bulk. I just think his moves, I think that they'll bring him out a little bit. I'm not going to say that the guy's not going to have some success against him. He's 7'6".
Right.
I mean, you know what? We used to do in practice when I was coaching Tom Lessett, we used to have brooms. You hold a broom up.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
You hold a broom up. They don't have a guy 7'6" to practice against.
That's
Coach
right.
K.
That's right.
But believe me, Coach K will. And really, if you're expecting me to say that this kid's going to have enormous success against our guy Zion Williamson or my guy,
right.
I just think Duke is going to win the game. But it's a game that I graded with the method. It's not. I ran from it. I don't know who's going to cover, what's going to happen, but it's going to be an interesting game. And Duke is one of those teams, and this is interesting, because without gambling in the NCAA's tournament, there'd be no tournament with the success and the billions of dollars. There's billions of dollars bet, there's billions of dollars advertised. They've had this big success, and it's all because of gambling. But this is one of those games you don't have to gamble to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just going to be a fun game. It's on at 4:15 Central Time on
Isn't
CBS.
that wisdom coming out of my mouth? Wisdom.
Well, yeah, it really is, Mike.
They call me Mr. Wisdom.
It really is, because you know what I love about your handicapping advice is that you tell us the games to stay away from. It's not like there are other handicappers out there that just want to push every game on you, and that just feels like, you're being, given a bunch of BS. There's just some games you should lay off.
Can I give you a stat that people in America and in the communist bloc countries will not believe?
Okay.
I named 7 dark horses for the tournament.
Uh-huh.
Okay? On the show on ESPN the other night.
Right.
And the dark horses were, and we did the show on Wednesday, teams that nobody talked about in the first round. In other words, Aldo, if you watch TV for 3 days before the tournament, if you listen to radio 3 days before the tournament, you didn't hear one time these teams mentioned. So then I jot them down, because listening is part of handicapping. If 19 guys take Duke, and 2 guys take the other way, and you're just jotting them down, and you take Duke, you're asking for trouble.
Okay.
Because the public is usually wrong.
Okay.
Okay, I like that, a new twist.
I changed things up a little on you.
My God, you've been working on your game. I respect that. I like the old things like interesting, and I like those, but seriously, here's a new one.
My wife told me to change it up a little.
I love it. And then she also said do something different on the show.
Exactly.
I can't help it. It's a gift. You want me to have a quick comeback? I got it for you. There's no script. There's no teleprompter.
No.
Watch this one anchor. He's like the guy in broadcast news. He's like Ron Burgundy. He reads anything.
That's right.
Unbelievable. And then once the teleprompter stops, he can't complete a sentence. It's the truth, folks. Aldo and I worked in TV. There's people that can't complete a sentence that tell you the news every night because it's written for them.
That is hilarious.
Why do I have to go there and be bitter? Not bitter, but just fire on the electronic media. It's not going to get me anyplace.
No, it's not, Mike. I don't know. Why do you do that?
What the hell was the question again?
I forgot.
I did too. Let's move on.
We're moving on. All right.
We'll listen to the tape and we'll go, oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like we give a rat's ass. Everybody's waiting for the picks. We're just pawns in their game.
That's exactly correct.
That's all we are. We're just talking mouths and just shut up and give us the picking so we can get rid of you guys.
That's right. These guys want to make their phone calls.
Yeah, well, it's a little early.
Okay. Yes, it is a little too early. Now, another game that I'm really interested in watching is at 1:40 Central Time, also on CBS. It's the North Carolina-Washington game. I don't know. Like you said, this is totally unscripted show, so I don't know if you're picking on this game, but I just like...
You just made me remember what we were talking about.
Okay.
Thank God.
What was
because it was one of my dark horses.
Oh.
I picked 7 teams. Okay, here's the teams I picked that nobody talked about.
Right.
Washington. They won their first game.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota.
Okay.
They won
That's right.
against Louisville.
That's right.
Baylor. Nobody talked about Baylor. Not for 4 days. So I said, what the hell? They're playing Syracuse. You know, Boeheim, he's got an average team, plus he ran over some guy about 2 weeks ago. Who knows what's going on? Don't tell me, the fastest vindication I ever saw, he ran him over today about 6 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock, you go, he's innocent. And then they move on. That's all I'm going to say. I've never seen a traffic thing solve so quickly, and good for him. All I'm going to say is that nobody talked about Baylor. Nobody. Mm-hmm. And Baylor won.
Greg Brack.
And
go ahead.
I had seven dark horses that covered. Vermont. Nobody said a word about Vermont. They lost, but they covered.
Yeah.
7-0 with my dark horse.
Nice. Oh, man, I don't know how you do it.
The teams nobody talks about. The teams nobody cares about.
Right.
The teams that basically, you know what? I could go down the list of, the media. You know what they do? Copycats. Duke. North Carolina. Kentucky. Look at Purdue. Mm-hmm. Purdue. Nobody talked about Purdue. Villanova got spanked by them. Maryland gave a good account of themselves. Nobody talked about Maryland. Minnesota. Nobody talked about Minnesota. How about yesterday? Kansas losing to Auburn. Thank God they're out.
Yes.
So, it's all good.
Kansas was ranked number 1 when the college basketball season began. So, I was shocked to see them go out so early in the tournament.
You know who they're always ranked by? The media swamp. The media swamp.
I love it.
Oh, Kansas, yeah. Well, and I don't blame them. They win every year. But how much homework do these teams or do these media guys need to do to pick Duke or Kentucky or Kansas
really.
to just put that down? It takes work to take a Liberty. It takes work to take an Oregon. Mm-hmm. It takes work. My buddy Carmen DeFalco was 2-0 on the show. To take a Belmont to cover. That's work.
Yeah,
now all of a sudden the kid from Murray State, is he better than Zion? This is from people who 3 weeks ago never heard of him. Who never heard of him. Mabat Murray, is that his name? I don't even know what the kid's name is. All of a sudden there's people that say his game really is conducive better than Zion's at the next level. You're morons. You saw him for the first time 3 weeks ago. Zion Williamson is the first pick. And if somebody doesn't take him, even over this kid, they deserve to be fired.
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness. But that guy...
what was the kid's name?
Jamont. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I had it in front of me.
All I'm going to say is I'm hearing now he's the greatest. Just like I'm hearing that Mike Trout will go on to be the greatest baseball player ever. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. He's going to be better than all of them. Once this 13, are these people out of their tree? Stan Musial, Ted Williams. Mike Trout's going to be better than all of them. Mike Trout, I don't even want to stay up till 9 o'clock to watch him play because his teams are just okay. But don't tell me he's better than Mays. Yeah. Don't tell me he's better than Williams. Don't tell me he's better than Ruth. Don't tell me he's better than Clement. I want to see the final result. Well, he's got a high WAR. So did Bryce Harper. How'd that work for him?
Everybody in the chat room.
God.
Everybody in the chat room coming to the rescue. It's Ja Morant. Ja Morant, I believe is the pronunciation.
Whatever his name is. I thought John Morant, when I first heard the name, I go, is he a French actor? I have no idea. All of a sudden, he's better than Zion Williamson.
He has a really nice highlight reel, that is for sure. And people were saying
well,
that.
How's it going today for those guys?
Yeah, they're. I think they're.
The highlight reel stopped.
I think they're playing.
And I know
the
kid's talented. I watched him. But I'm not going to think he's better than Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
I've been watching him play at a high level all year long. And I know this kid's good. But for people to just kick Zion Williamson off the bandwagon, for this guy, I'm sorry, I got to see more. I remember kids that come from, remember Markel Fultz?
Yep, absolutely.
The first pick? He came from Washington. Well, this kid comes from a small school, too. Well, Washington's not a small school, but this kid comes from a smaller school, easier league. Let's see what happens as we compete. I'm not saying he's not going to be all that, but I'm not saying that he's going to be all that. I just got to wait and see. But Zion's the man.
Zion is the man, although Greg Braggs disagrees with you. He loves tuning in on Sunday. He says he doesn't gamble, but he loves the banter back and forth. But regarding this point on Zion and Morant, he says that maybe you should reconsider because this kid shoots and handles the ball much better than Zion. And I think the reply there is, but they're separate, different positions. One is a point guard, one is a power forward.
They play a different position, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know what? I understand all that. But I understand. But you know what? And maybe the kid makes people around him better. Here's what I know. When Zion Williamson was out of Duke's lineup, they suffered. When he came back, they became the number one team. And to ignore that fact, when he was gone, usually guys leave, and sometimes guys have a rude awakening. I'm out of the lineup. We're going to lose. And then the next thing you know, you'll hear, like Clayton Kershaw, when he's out of the Dodger lineup, they do better.
Right.
So to say that kid is a better pick over Zion Williamson, sorry, because when Zion Williamson was out of the Duke lineup, they looked like they could be beaten the first round.
Yep, it's a good point. And, hey, Mike, can I ask
Thank you, Aldo. I appreciate it. That's it for today.
Hey, can I ask you who you have winning it all in your bracket?
Yeah, Iowa State, they're done.
Okay, that's right. You mentioned that.
But I do have Duke. I had Minnesota. You know what? To me, the brackets are just have fun. Picking it. Like I said, I picked Ohio State over Iowa State in the game once I did my investigation, and I was sorry I picked them. But I pick them the day I get the ballot. The brackets, I don't care. Here's what I care about: the individual games.
Yep, boy.
Winning those. That means nothing to me. Hey, how's your bracket? My bracket's better than yours, Mike. Yeah, I'm 11-2 handicapping. And then the guy stands there with his mouth open. That's
right. Lots of chatter in the chat room about this whole Williamson Morant debate. And here's what we'll do. When we get closer to the NBA draft, we'll open up this topic and really delve into it right now. But I need to move on. It is time for us.
Markel Fultz was supposed to be the greatest, one of the great draft picks coming out. How'd that work for everybody? I could name you a million guys. I'm not going, and I know the kid's talented, but Zion Williamson, he's just a beast. He's a different man.
Yes,
sorry.
He is. I've seen him play, and this is a remarkable talent, one that you just don't see often. And
he brings eyes to the TV.
Right. And a lot of people think that this Morant kid is going to be a top-notch point guard, but perhaps not among the best in the league because the NBA has so many excellent point guards. It's going to be tough for him to shine.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll give him this. I'd rather, if you're going to tell me Ben Simmons is great, but he doesn't have a shot, but Ben Simmons doesn't need a shot. This kid's got a shot, and he also can do other things that Ben Simmons can't do. I'm not saying, look, I'll take him number 2. I'm not taking him over Zion Williamson.
Excellent. And does this kid have a shot that's better than Mike North's shot when Mike was at his prime playing hoops?
If I didn't have to play defense, if I didn't have to dribble, if I didn't have to drive to the arena, I had a great shot. But there was no 3-point line. That was it. I had a shot. I played decent defense. I knew my weakness was handling the ball. I was a number 2 guard. If I got a rebound when I was playing for Truman or anybody else, I got rid of the ball. That's a lot of these guys. If you watch in the tournament, I saw a guy yesterday for Wolford, help call number 50. Twice had the ball stolen, turned into turnovers and baskets because he put the ball on the ground. Guy came from behind, took it. They ended up making 2 baskets, and they ended up losing by 6. So you take those 2 baskets away, that's a 4-point swing if he could keep it and then make some baskets out of it. They lost the game because of that. I saw Maryland. Here's one they gave Mark Turgeon. I give him a lot of credit. They were 12 points away. He gets a technical. They come back. The bad part is the guy made those 2 free throws for the technicals. Guess what they lost by? 2.
2 points. Wow.
That's it. So even though he got him going, at the end of the day, those 2 free throws beat him at the end of the day, no matter how he charged up his team.
Excellent stuff. All right, we are moving on to
The anthem.
the anthem. Exactly.
The anthem.
You hear that
Forget
music?
about Oh Say Can You See? Oh Say Can We Win? That's what it is. Are you kidding me? I'm not even going there. All right.
2 big games coming up. Let's fill out those as the what was the name of the guy that was the PA announcer at Wrigley Field for decades?
Pat Piper.
Pat Piper. Pull out your pencils and scorecards.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, please.
Attention, please. Get your pencils and scorecards ready,
There you go.
and I will give you the correct lineup for today's ball game.
Oh my goodness, he's come back to life. Pat Piper, awesome job.
11, Kessinger, shortstop.
Exactly.
18, Beckert, second base. 26, Williams, left field. Don't get me started.
Oh,
I'm
my
starting to get a
gosh.
Woody.
And then it was
2 things
Santo.
gave me a Woody at one point in my life. Raquel Welch and the 69 Cubs.
Oh my
And
goodness.
both fizzled out quickly.
You bring up the 69 Cubs and you talk about crime. Boy, did I cry in September.
10, Santo, third base. 14, thanks. I'll go all night long
Oh, my
like Lionel
God.
Richie. All right, let's make the picks. You
All
ready,
righty.
buddy?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. First, you know what you're going to say to me? Mike, don't do this to us. Look, my job is to give winners.
That's right.
My job isn't to feel pity on you. I've made you folks hundreds, thousands of dollars. In the last month, for instance, at Vegas Scores and Odds, $100 bettors have made $1,490 in the last month off Mike North. $1,000 bettors have made $14,900 in 1 month if you pick my picks. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you took Aldo and my picks, 8-4, you're up. If you take 6-1, you're up. What I'm trying to tell you is please listen and listen carefully and then act accordingly. We can't do nothing else. Now, Aldo's saying, for God's sake, please, dear Lord on high, I'm on my knee, make a pick. Okay. I'm going to go with the NBA to start things off. Now, the NBA's been a mixed bag, but you know what? Sometimes you just cannot deny what you're looking at. Sometimes you see that diamond in the rough, and if you lose, you lose. You just got to go by what the methodology, what my system tells me this, and I call it the method now, because people got systems, and to be honest with you, Aldo, they just don't work. Method works. I'm changing it up. I'm taking the Indiana Pacers plus the 1.5. It's a 405 game, excuse me.
Okay.
Check your local listings. It's at DirecTV 671, and the Pacers are getting 1.5. Probably they'll end up getting 2 at home against the Nuggets, who are 49-22. Well, the Pacers are 44-29. To me, as I did all my homework on this game, it's one of the strongest plays of the day. And you know what? I would not hesitate. I'll put down my money today. That's Indiana Pacers plus the 1.5.
All right, we got
My
that.
second game. Oh,
Excellent.
yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to repeat. Pacers plus 1.5 at home against the Nuggets. Let's go to pick number 2.
Yes, sir. You are correct, sir. Hi-oh! Did a little McMahon there, Aldo. I loved it. Okay. I'm going to go with the second game. I'm going to risk some money. I'm going to teach somebody something. I'm going to teach everybody a little something today. Sometimes gambling, well, all the time gambling's a risk, unless you're me and a few others. It's not really a risk. I don't look at it as a risk. I look at it as a business venture. But sometimes you got to step out and you got to say to yourself, I think once in a while I got to bet more money to win less. And I hate that for the most part. It's called the money line, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of people fear it. This is one you don't have to fear. Texas versus Xavier today, Aldo.
Okay.
It's an NIT game. Texas -6 against Xavier. It's a 3 o'clock game on ESPN. So while the NCAA tourney is going on, there's been a drastic mistake made. A drastic mistake. They're playing Xavier. When you think of Xavier, you don't think of football. You don't even think of the Saint Xavier. You don't think of anything except, I think, in that Philadelphia region, basketball. The Palestra, the Big Five. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
All right. So, Texas in the money line. Now, here's what I'm going to explain to everybody. It's -265. That means to win 100, you have to bet 265. Okay? You have to bet 1.5 times more to win 100. So if you bet 1,000, you'll win 350 or something. If you bet 265, then you will end up winning 100 for every 265. If you take Xavier, and this is where the tip is, a good program who's only getting 6, and I want everybody to remember this conversation next week, or even Monday when we do the Advantage tomorrow night with a special guest.
Yes.
If you bet 100 on Xavier, you'll win $218. You'll win double. I'm sorry, take Texas. Risk it, money line. So we have Indiana plus 1.5, and then we have Texas in the NIT because they think, everybody's not even going to look at that game. They're going to take their eye off the ball. You know?
Yep.
We don't here. Texas and Indiana. Not one NCAA game today, basically, is going to be played on this show. We're about winning. We will be at least 1-1. We've never had a week where we've been shut out. So just trust me on this. I believe that Texas plays one of my strongest 5 plays of the year. That's why I'm asking you guys to do it. And that's it.
Shane Marsaw says, thanks for the picks, Dad.
You're welcome, son. By the way, nothing made me happier than to see last week on Twitter a couple different people, and I got a private message from one guy saying he won $2,200.
Yeah, I saw that.
That makes me feel so good. Somebody's going to have a good birthday, or somebody's going to pay a bill. That's what it's all about. Illinois is going to have gambling. Those casinos can give a rat's rooty tooty about you, except they got a problem. It's going to be me. And people are going to be taking my picks, and we're going to be winning. That's the bottom line. And that's why we go slow, we run it like a business, and we get it done.
I love it. Yeah, I saw a couple of tweets headed your way about people saying thank you for helping me make some money. And so you got one in the DMs too, huh?
Yeah, and I got one because I keep my message board open if I follow you. I don't care. Unless somebody says something disrespectful, then I block them. I don't care. It's just like a bar. Twitter's like a bar. How could you block this guy? If the guy calls me a name and I want to throw him out of my business, that's what I'm going to do. That's why I do good on Twitter. That's just the way it's going to be. You get rid of the riffraff. I don't care if you own a bar. I don't care if you run a business. I don't care if you're on Twitter. You get rid of the riffraff. I got one guy that thanked me in front of everybody on Twitter. $7,000 he won last week.
Wow,
on
nice.
my picks.
Yeah, Greg
He
Bragg's
goes, Mike, thanks a lot, man. And you know what? I could tell it was legit. You're not going to make up 7,000. You're going to make up 5,000. You're going to make up 10,000. Maybe make up 2,000. 7,000. I said, this guy probably bet a 500 a game, and that's how it rounded out.
Nice going. Hey,
yeah. So those are my picks: Indiana and Texas on the money line.
And if people want more Mike North picks, they need to go to Las Vegas Scores and Odds, correct?
Absolutely. We got a couple games up today, and this is the problem. I got to sparse my games. I got to give good wins. The one I gave you was those 2 games are very strong. But for the college games that are payable, I went with Iowa today against it's Iowa versus I don't even know who the hell these teams are playing anymore. Let me just get my picks here.
Okay.
And I'm right here for everybody. Okay, I got the winner of the Iowa versus Tennessee game.
Mm-hmm.
That is a tough game.
That is a tough
And I
game.
also, on Vegas Scores and Odds, have Harvard versus North Carolina State.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's gonna be a tough game too. But that's only 2 games also. The 2 games I gave you, I would have put on Vegas Scores and Odds, but I give them out free because we started first. But there's enough. Hey, there was like 6 different winners I could have chosen from today, and I'm confident I could win them all.
In the chat room, people are clamoring for us to do a show in the near future about kind of betting 101 for beginners and that's a great idea because there are so many people like myself who have never done betting, on a big scale. Like I'll go to Vegas and I'll plop down a few bucks and sit down in the sports book and have a good time and so forth. But I'd like to do it with more confidence and more knowledge. And perhaps one day we devote a show just to talking about the basics.
Yeah.
Learning all that stuff. Let's do that in the weeks to come. We'll plot that out.
Well, you know
for one
what's
of our
funny
shows.
about that? You're right, because I just got a guy that tweeted me the other day. He says, Mike, I really don't know how to bet. But I see you're winning all these bets, but I see this minus, plus. They did. So I explained to him on Twitter very simply as best I can. But you're right. To explain it here, what I said to him was, if you take, let's say, Texas tonight, -5, okay? And they win 90-80. You just subtract the 5 that you took with Texas because it's minus. I always say when you take minus, you subtract from the team that you took that you're betting. They still cover because they won by 10. You take 5 off the score, it's 85-80 instead of 90-80. Or if you bet the other way in that game, which is also going to be, I think, a tussle today, Xavier. What you do is you get 5 plus 5, and if Texas wins 90-88, and you have Xavier plus 5, you win. You win because you add the 5 onto the 88, and it surpasses what Texas has. Now, I think that's pretty good, but then again, I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm not a school teacher, but I think I explained that part pretty good. But you're right. We should do a whole thing on hockey, baseball, basketball, anytime you want, my friend.
Sounds good. I will put it down on my notes here, and we'll plot it out for an upcoming show.
Fast today. It's like 150 miles an hour.
We are, and I've got a number of topics to discuss still. So let's shift gears here a little bit. I just saw that the NFL Competition Committee is going to talk about some proposed rule changes, and I wanted to get your take on one.
Okay.
They want to now review they want to discuss potentially reviewing pass interference calls. And we all know what that's about. The L.A. Rams, New Orleans Saints game ended in a very controversial manner when the referees failed to throw the flag on an obvious pass interference, and that may have cost the Saints going to the Super Bowl. Do you think that pass interference should be a reviewable call?
No. It happened once, okay. It was a bad call. Those guys should be fired. If they interpreted the rules, it would have never been a problem. It's the referees. Well, now we're going to bail them out again? Look, I've been watching replays on college basketball the last 2 days. I mean, there was one yesterday, it had to be 6-7 minutes. It's become sad. We're reviewing a ticky-tack play in the middle of the first half. It's become pathetically sad that these refs are so bad now, okay, and that was just an oversight. But to overreact, I think is what we always do in this society, and everybody wants to play it safe now. I think you got to keep the human element in, but more and more, these games are going to take longer and longer because, my God, if you're going to stop for every play on pass interference, that's another 5 or 6 stoppages.
As opposed to continually changing rules to safeguard, or that's not the word, to
integrity.
Yeah, I just think that they need to teach these referees how to ref.
They blew it.
Yes.
It's not because there's no integrity to the game. That's a bad referee crew. Why are they? I mean, I still don't know who they are. Look, the Lilies have taken over rules. They have, from running over a catcher at home plate to sliding, giving them a little space, to you can't take a guy out at second base anymore. Everything is geared liberally, and I mean that, for safety. These sports were designed, this sports were designed for danger. And the more you do this, and the more that you start over-evaluating every call, we're going to do 4-hour games soon.
Yeah. Well, and one team, the Washington Redskins, they've proposed a rule change to review everything. Every call out there is reviewable. Can you believe what would happen to the game of NFL football? I mean, I'm sure that they would.
Well, it's already happened, but people will sit there. But I don't sit there to watch replays. Look, sometimes you got to overcome a bad call. Sometimes a bad call happens and you get screwed. Are you going to tell me Drew Brees, for instance, on pass interference calls in his career, has never gotten the benefit of the doubt? Mm-hmm. If you touch or breathe on one of his receivers and if you touch the guy's jersey and it's a bomb, Drew Brees has bailed himself out hundreds of times because of the pass interference call. Now we got to hear about the one time they got screwed. It was a bad crew. That's just the way it is. They should all be fired for that. All of them. All of them. But the nonsense that we're going to go to replay for everything, I'm not about that. We made it through the first 50 years of NFL play without hardly any replays at all.
We got George Bayless in the chat room is switching subjects on us, but he says, can you ask Mike, should I give up betting against the Bulls? The team doesn't know how to tank.
If you're betting the Bulls, you're terminal. You're a degenerate.
Yeah, stop it, George.
Dave, stop. Listen, they're a pathetic organization. They should be ashamed of themselves for the hierarchy that they have. Jerry Reinsdorf should be ridiculed in public for being the sap owner that he's become.
Oh, my gosh.
What's oh, my gosh? That's not even anything bad. You see how you get? See how everybody gets? I called the owner a sap, and everybody's falling over. That's light from what happened 20 years ago if you were a bad owner, like Bill Wirtz. Speaking of It's a Wonderful Life, I used to call him Potter. And by the way, he hated that. But you call an owner a sap who's been losing for 35 years, and that's what's happened to broadcasting, folks. And Aldo's not about that.
No.
But, oh, my gosh.
Sunday morning, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen, one other rule change that's on. Did I lose you, Mike?
Yeah, I was criticizing you and you cut me off. No, you know what I'm talking about, though.
Absolutely.
It's gotten to the point where you call an owner a sap, and it's, oh, my gosh. What's next, the S word?
That's
Jerry
right.
Reinsdorf is a S. Oh, Mike met sap, but you can't say that anymore.
You can say anything you want on this show, and anytime
I don't know.
you want.
I just said that I didn't go along with the sap thing. Now you got shocked, and then you disconnected me, and I got a call from Cleveland. I don't know what's going on.
No, you were mentioning earlier, back to the football rules, proposed football rules. You were mentioning earlier about the safety in the game just getting out of control. One of the proposals is no more blindside blocks. I mean, come on.
Like I just gave you. I'm so sorry. No, anyway, blindside blocks are part of the game.
That's right.
And if the guy's turned towards you, it's not a blindside block. If you clip the guy, it's a block. Look, put flags on him. Enough. I just bet the games to win. I could care less about the integrity of the game. There is none. I mean, the commissioner of football is the worst of all time, in my opinion, but they keep making money. My God, you could put a chimpanzee in a suit and you could be commissioner and make money. It's about the other things that he's hurt the game with that people don't even realize, and the game's been tarnished over the last few years. Last year was a strong comeback, but this is just over legislation.
Yes, I agree.
It really is, Aldo. It's over legislation. It really is.
It really, really, really is. I wish that they had like this rules committee meeting with it discussing these rules televised so that we can see what's the thinking behind even proposing some of these rule changes, because it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what you do is what they won't do is bring in some people that actually made the game what it is, the fans.
Yep.
What they should have is a 3-fan committee. Mm-hmm. And I'd be happy to volunteer and sit with those powers because they don't intimidate me. In fact, they'd be more worried about me than I'd be about them. because I know Jerry Jones, good guy. Mm-hmm. I know, a few of the owners. I know the McCaskies wouldn't be happy to see me there.
No.
But if the Bears, for instance, would have had a 3-person committee, fan committee, to say to all the GMs that they've had, or no, don't hire Mark Trestman. No, don't sign Jay Cutler. Like, if they had me, for instance, we would have never gone through a decade of futility by signing Jay Cutler if they would have listened to me. Period.
That is a really good idea, though. Is let's give fans a say in some of these decisions that franchises make. And
we would have won 3 Super Bowls if I was the GM, and you can laugh all you want. Just like people laughed when I wanted to be a talk show host. Just like people laughed when I wanted to be the best handicapper in the world. Just like people laughed when I had the best hot dog stand in the world. I'm confident, after seeing that some of the GMs that they've had and some of the hires that were made and player personnel decisions, that I would have won 3 Super Bowls as a GM for the Bears.
Very good.
Just don't make me handle the paperwork. We got sweaty Ted Phillips for that. Here, Ted, please, dear Lord, do not pick up Tank Johnson. Do not draft this guy. Please, Lord on high. I would, honest to God, I'm being straight up about this. There's been, for every one thing I've been wrong about with the Bears, I've been right about them every 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And I would have, Trustman would have never been hired. Mm-hmm. Ever. Wattstadt, everybody knows, never would have been hired by me. Ever.
And you guys...
They listened to the media back in the day, but they listened to the wrong ones. They never listened to the local media. They listened to the national media, and Wattstadt was the flavor of the day. And basically, that flavor went out of business after about 3-4 years.
Yeah. And you and Wattstadt actually struck up a friendship after a while, right? Despite all the criticism you threw his way?
No, not really. You know what? To be honest with you, he tried to. And I give him credit. He tried to reach out because he knew I was telling the truth. I saw him at camp. We talked for a few minutes. Very uncomfortable, both of us. Very uncomfortable because I told it like it was, and I told the truth. I didn't think they should fire Ditka after 92. Sorry, he had one bad year. The year before he had a good year. But they didn't. They had him where they wanted him. They depleted his roster. Maybe Ditka was burned out by then. I don't know. But then they hired a Ditka lookalike from Pittsburgh.
It did look like it was his son.
I mean, they hired really. If you ever saw the movie Dave,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
They did the same thing. They he looks like Ditka. He's got a mustache. He's from Pitt. You know, but then when he posed next to McCaskey, I almost threw up.
Why? Why did you almost throw up?
Because they're on the cover of the Sun-Times, both in the same. They both had long trench coats on, beige trench coats like detectives. They both were standing in the stands and posing together. I said, "This is the guy that McCaskey picked." So it's a wrong pick, and I was right.
Yeah, I think you said that you would have been right. How many times in wrong? Once?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Well, the reverse was true with McCaskey, right? I mean, that's documented. It seems like.
Oh my God! I would have never listened. I would have thought. Listen, if you're going to let me run that football team, Wilbur Marshall's never leaving.
Yeah.
Buddy Ryan is never leaving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what I would have done is I would have given Buddy Ryan so much money that he would have stayed. That's what the coaches used to do. That's what they did with San Francisco for years.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
George Seifert, don't leave. You're next in line. Mm-hmm. Here's some money for you. They paid him a ton. They pay certain coaches as assistant head coaches big money, so they got a guy to fall back on if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? But Buddy Ryan leaving killed that team. Wilbur Marshall killed that team. I might have let Galt go. Mm-hmm. Although he stretched the field. The problem was, and I would have brought Flutie in. I thought it was the right call. Tomzak, they fell in love. The players liked him, so they ended up saying, "We want Tomzak over Flutie." How's that working for you? How many rings you win?
Not many. Not any.
None after that.
0.
McMahon was a downfall. There's nothing you can do. He got hurt, but there was other things. You don't get rid of Wilbur Marshall. You don't. He was as good as Lawrence Taylor. You don't. And then he goes to Washington in a different system and wins the Super Bowl.
Well, it looks like the White Sox will not be getting rid of Eloy Jimenez. They signed him to a $43 million 6-year contract, and that's going to keep him around for a long time. What do you think about this kid? You think that he's got superstar potential?
Yeah, like Makata did. And like Kopech did. I just want everybody to remember that everybody that they've picked up so far has fallen on their face. Mm-hmm. Period. Remember that.
Yeah.
Chris Sale just signed an extension. 7 years for whatever. Worst trade in Chicago history. Moncada is not going to pan out. He's not going to be any kind of viable source. They should have gotten a veteran, a player, a physical major league player. Kopech's on the shelf. So I'm praying to God that Kenny Williams, who's just one of the worst general managers who walked into one World Series and, quite frankly, is one of the worst GMs going. I hope to God they get this right. Because if this guy doesn't come through and they gave him all that money, it's not going to be good. I happen to have a good feeling about this kid, so hopefully he'll come through.
He is chosen to wear number 74. And I put up on Twitter, Chicago sports lovers have to know who wore number 9, who wore number 14, who wore number 23, 34, 51. Those are iconic numbers in Chicago sports. I left out, of course, number 40. If you say 40 in Chicago, you should know I'm talking about Gale Sayers. Those numbers, Mike, do you disagree with any of them being iconic,
No.
and which would you add?
Well, first of all, Jimbo Covert was number 74. He's a friend of the show, so we got to throw that in. But I understand where this kid's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at all the numbers. I don't even know if he knew these men existed. So basically, the White Sox, they sat him down and they go, "Here's, like Carlton Fisk at number 72 with the Sox."
Yeah, that's right.
Whenever you mention 72, you'll remember Carlton Fisk.
Without a doubt.
74 is usually reserved for spring training guys and stuff like that. If he plays like a spring training guy, the number will be forgotten. If he doesn't, then it'll be revered. But to pick a number and to say, I want 74 to be, he could have picked another number.
Mm-hmm.
He could have picked another number. He could have picked, why didn't he pick I don't know, 18? Who was number 18? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He picked 74. He's going to be very noticeable. I hope he comes through.
Yeah, you say 18, and the only one guy I can think of immediately is Glenn Beckert, the second baseman for the Cubs in that 69 team.
Or Kyle Orton. That was it.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle Orton. Yeah.
I loved him. They were talking. He outplayed Cutler just like other quarterbacks. McCown outplayed Cutler, and then when Cutler would come back, they'd be replaced.
Yep. Ryan Cox said number 31, that belonged to Fergie Jenkins and Greg Maddux. So that's a good number. 54, of course, with Brian Urlacher. That's a number to remember. I don't think it'll be retired anytime because the Bears are running out of numbers. They may have made a mistake in retiring certain numbers. Jim B, Jimbo3499 on Twitter said 88 for Kane and 99 for Hampton. Those are two good choices. I think 88 for Kane is going to be remembered for a long time.
Yeah, 88 for Kane, but 9 will always be the dominant. I don't care. Bobby Hull will always, I think, at least for now, 20 years from now, when Bobby Hull fans start, making the reservations at whatever and Son's funeral home, then he'll become even more prominent. But you're right. Patrick Kane's been the most successful Blackhawk along with Jonathan Taves. When you really look at it at the end of the day, those are the two guys you should remember in Blackhawk history, even over my guy Bobby Hull, because he only won one cup, and then Stan Mikita, another guy, Savard. I think Kane, for sure, is heads and tails above everybody else. Taves has sort of quieted, been the captain, and the team's taken a hit, and he's had some rough going, but Kane's the man.
I'll leave you with one last number 3 for Harold Baines.
Man,
here it comes.
I'll tell you what, it's embarrassing. If you're Tony La Russa and you tell people you got Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame, you know what? You better have had, if you want an honest reaction, they'll get up and leave. They'll get up from the table and leave. Sorry, he's not a Hall of Famer. Sorry. Or he lasted a long time. Okay? That's not a criteria.
No.
If you lasted a long time, you should have 3,000 hits. You don't. You should have 500 homers. You don't. You should have won something. You didn't. You should have dove for a ball once in your life. You didn't. So, I mean, all I'm saying is because he's Jerry Reinsdorf's one of his guys, he got in.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think Baines maybe was a little better than you're giving him credit for, but
not Hall of Fame.
He's not Hall of Fame.
You think he should be in baseball's Hall of Fame?
No, I don't.
No. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, and I think you and I are honest with ourselves 73% of the time. I lied to myself the other day and said I don't have a receding hairline, and I do. And I know, Aldo, you basically say to yourself, really, you know what? Structurally, I'm built like a muscle man. I mean, we lie to ourselves.
Yes, very, very, very often I lie to myself about what
I lie to myself every day. I say, I don't have a double chin. Yes, I'm looking at my double chin in the mirror.
I say the same thing, and then I notice it's 3 chins that I got.
You know what? When I came out of the womb, the doctor said to me, there's 2 things I know. You're going to drink a lot when you grow up. He's telling me this as soon as I'm born. And you're going to have a double chin because you have some Irish blood in you.
And he was right.
You'll be 150 pounds, but you'll still have a double chin, even when you're in the service.
All right, Mike, let's conclude the show with an update on the movie. I understand some progress on the script.
First of all, Jeremy Morrison did a great job. And here's what he did, Aldo, because we're writing this together. Mm-hmm. Just like me and you are sort of writing the autobiography together of the same name, Raging Mouth. He comes out to the house, and he delivers a 33-page first act, which gets the show rolling. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, Schwartzy saw a comment I made about on Twitter saying, Jeff Schwartz saw it, he says, I almost started crying. You and BB sitting together reading a script about your lives, getting ready to be a movie down the line. He says, that's unbelievable. Yeah. But really, the average screenplay is about 110 to 120. I got 33 pages. He left some holes, and he put X's in for names and stuff like that for me. So I got room to add another 10 pages, at least, of story to the script that he didn't put in, that I should put in, or maybe... and I'm also making corrections, and then I'm going to send it back to him. Then he sends it to Hollywood, and then they look at it. It's a process, and then they make some changes. Or Hollywood always jumps in. Adam Rifkin will make the final determination. Hopefully he'll like what we have, but he'll make a couple changes due to cosmetics, to make the story better, or what have you. But the first draft that he wrote, plus the synopsis that you use when you talk to investors. Right. He wrote a great synopsis and a great first act that will be added to. So we're almost done with the first act. We got 2 more to go.
The in Hollywood, it's usually it's considered in the script a minute per page. So we're talking about the first 30 minutes or so, which is what usually the first act is in Hollywood movies. So you've got a good idea of what the first 30 minutes of the movie is going to look like, and that is incredible because obviously that sets the tone for the rest of the movie. So the first act is by many people considered the most important act of any movie because you're going to sit down and say, hey, I like where this movie's headed. So it's a big accomplishment to get through.
That's a good point you brought up. I like where the script is headed, but now I can enhance it a little bit, put in some narratives. For instance, there was nothing about my Army years, so you do a narrative. Where I'm in the Army for a short time. You just show with a narration over it. And while I was waiting to get into radio, there were a couple other minor things that happened. I was supposed to go to Vietnam, and it didn't. Then you show narrative of me. There was no narrative of me playing sports and arguing, with the umpire from my 20s to 40s to help set the temperament where my temperament was at as far as competitiveness. But basically, he got it. He notched it. So there's only a few things I think we should add. And, you let the guy do his job.
Absolutely. Boy, it's exciting. It's exciting.
It is.
And then now you and I are going to work on the next chapter of the autobiography. So let's say goodbye to our listeners.
So long, everybody. We love you. Good winning today. Indiana and Texas on the money line.
And don't forget the Mike North Advantage on Monday night. Mike is going to have a very special guest for us. We'll announce that tomorrow on Twitter and other social media sites. So be on the lookout for that. Say goodbye again, Mike.
So long, everybody.